Jon Corzine. Senator Pat Roberts from Kansas is ranking member of the Agriculture Committee. Senator, great to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Melissa Lee. How are you this morning?
We are able, at least at this point, to understand where Jon Corzine is coming from based on his previous testimony and the answers to some of those questions. So where do you hope to really drill down tomorrow?
We want to find out who's responsible for who pressed the button. In other words, who pressed the button, if that's the phrase to use, to mix the customer segregated accounts, the accounts by farmers, businessmen, all of whom are still calling us in rather desperate shape, and the company's funds. This is after bankruptcy, after the run on the company, and probably before the board asked him to resign. He should be able to ask those questions. After all, the vice president said he was the smartest man on the economy, going into 2008. But we need to drill down and find out exactly who was responsible. He said it was not his intention, but he didn't say that he didn't do it. And I'm not saying that he did, but we need to find that out.
He has said at one point last week that he was not in a position to know those sorts of answers. Do you buy that? As a CEO of a company, shouldn't you know?
No, those plans I think had to be made prior to that statement. He's simply saying after bankruptcy and the board said we would like you to leave. That's a nice way of saying it being fired. That basically he didn't have an opportunity to look at the books. Well, the books were a mess. Nobody could figure out what was going on with the books, including the trustee. Good news, the trustee has now announced to all of the people who had the customer segregated funds, farmers, ranchers, business people, they'll be made whole up to 72%. That figure was 60% a while back, so at least we're climbing. Need to find the money.
Senator, what do you say to the critics out there who say that Congress is simply conducting a dog and pony show, that really the SEC should have been able to go in and do a thorough investigation before parading Jon Corzine out in front of the public and in front of Congress? Well,
there's no parade, and this is not a dog and pony show. If I'm the dog, I got a sharp bite. And so consequently, we need to find out because, number one, it's not the SEC. It is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. That's under the jurisdiction of the Agriculture Committee. We're responsible. Now, that investigation is being headed up now by the senior member of the CFTC. We want to find out the status of that as it goes along. We hope there's no interference in that investigation, and we hope it continues.
Well, then along those lines, do you take any responsibility as the committee, part of the committee that oversees the CFTC, for allowing what is now perceived to be an improper relationship between Gary Gensler and Jon Corzine? How is it that Gary Gensler is in a position where he has to recuse himself from what is going on right now because of the prior relationship he's had with Jon Corzine?
Well, number one, he hasn't recused himself. He said he is a non-participant.
Non-participant, excuse me, yes.
Yeah, well, what the heck is that? And now you can either step aside, which he said he was going to do first, and then before the committee, he said, I'm a non-participant. Well, when we had questions on the regulatory business and how this happened, he would say, well, I'm not a non-participant on that part. He can't do that. He can't pick and choose. He should have recused himself. I sent him a letter about that. It took him 2 weeks to get back. Still hasn't recused himself. So we really have to ask Mr. Corzine, again, Senator Corzine, Governor Corzine, we have to ask the witness again, what was the relationship between you and the chairman of the CFTC? That's our job, and we have to conduct that oversight. Chairwoman Stabenow and myself are very determined to do that. We're going to get to the bottom of this, more especially in behalf of our farmers and ranchers. All
right, Senator, thanks a lot for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's take another market check here because we are at session lows. The S&P 500 is down by 1 3/4% at this hour.